things to make money. There are very, very few things that I can do to make money. I'm very, very interested in Dagan James and Waverly Press right now because, he did service number 1 and brought in $52,000 US. I don't know how much is going to be left out of that when we're done printing and shipping all of the bells and whistles. But that's a big chunk of money, and that's a much bigger chunk of money than Grandpa can wrestle up on his own doing the Cerebus Archive portfolio, which brought in like $16,000 US, which still made money, and pretty good money, the best money, but not in the same category as
it's
number 1 Kickstarter.
It's the difference between a nice steak dinner and gourmet cat food.
Well, it's not. It's also the further along we go, the less and less money is worth, and the more money you need to bring in just to keep your head above water. So, consequently, I can't justify putting in the time on The Strange Death of Alex Raymond because all it does is cost money. I'm very, very hopeful that Carson is able to make some money kickstartering Strange Death of Alex Raymond. I'm very, very pleased that he's starting with, from what I understand, You Don't Know Jack is going to be the first part of it he's doing.
His plan right now is he's going to Kickstarter You Don't Know Jack as a 48-page book, but he's shopping Sodor around trying to find a publisher that's willing to print Volume 1, Volume 2, and then if he can find a publisher, he'll finish off the 20 pages of Volume 3 he's got, and then his own conclusion of, wrapping up the story, and it'll be a complete, around 300-page graphic novel. If he can't find a publisher at all, I believe his plan is going to be doing a Kickstarter, and it's going to be, this is everything that's completed, these are Dave's mock-ups, and, he's not going to put any more time into finishing it up. It's going to be, this is where we were when the axe dropped.
Right.
And I emailed him, and I emailed Eddie, and I said, what can I do to help? And I ended up helping Carson work on the pitch to send to publishers, because he was pitching to Image, and they want a cover letter and a synopsis and a preview, and he's like, can you help me out with this? I'm like, yeah, okay, I can help. And I'm writing the synopsis, which is basically a book report for a book I've never read. And I'm like,
you're a talented guy, though, Matt.
Well, and it was one of these. I went, okay, give me the cover letter with your information and stuff, because I had made a blog post of, the bare minimum of, okay, this is what the book is about, and gave it to did it where there's none of Matt's funny business in the post. It's just, this is what Sodor is, and gave it to Carson. I was like, okay, you can send people a link of, okay, this is the proposal, and he's like, this is really good. You're good at this, and I'm like, okay, I'll take the I'll take the praise, but at the same time, I don't know what I'm doing, but okay. And then he came back with, could you help me write the synopsis? So we rewrote the blog post, and I sent it to Eddie, and Eddie sent the inside front cover to Volume 1 of, this is what the book's about, and I'm like, oh, that's really good, because, again, this is a book report that I haven't read the book. It's not even like I can say, oh, well, I watched the movie and there's enough similarities I can get away with this. This is, I don't know anything. I remember Glamourpuss, but I don't remember Glamourpuss. And and so with Eddie's help, we redid the synopsis, and I emailed Adam Beechin of, hey, you're a published professional. Could you just look this over? You've done pitches. Be brutally honest. What does this pitch look like? Because I expect it to come back as, you don't know what you're doing. Don't do it that way. And he came back with, oh, it looks really good, but I think the book's going to fail completely. And I'm going, I did say brutal.
I would go along with that. I mean, one of the things I was working towards with the retailers was taking the Service Archive portfolio approach of the 20 pages. The first 20 pages of Strange Death of Alex Raymond. So it's still 10 sheets, but they're printed both sides from the original artwork. And setting it up for the retailers, if you want to promote Strange Death of Alex Raymond in your store, we'll set this up at Kinko, where this is the stay flat, it's called, is the oversized envelope. This is the stock that you printed on. Here's the digital files. Just go to Kinko's and print as many of them as you want. Sell them in your store for whatever you think you can get for them, $60, $70, with the fact that it costs about $8 or $9 to print, and take all of that money and put it into promotion, which I still think is a more viable thing at this level. I mean, I think Adam's right. I think anybody looks at the Strange Death of Alex Raymond, even if I could get them to sit still and actually read Volume 1, they would go, this is like interesting in a way, but it's more interesting in terms of what a strange thing for somebody to be obsessive about. And isn't this interesting at that level? Which is why it has to be, I think it has to